So normally, when I start all my interviews, I ask, "What is your name and what do you do?"
Oh, great. Okay. My name's Hannah Hauser, and I'm the program coordinator of SafeSpace.
What is
SafeSpace?
What is SafeSpace?
What do I do at SafeSpace? Basically, SafeSpace is an anti-violence organization, and we work with lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer, questioning people on issues of violence, and so that kind of encompasses hate violence, so hate crimes and discrimination, bias crimes. It also has sexual violence, both within relationships or stranger assault, and also domestic violence or partner violence. So we have a support line. It's not a hotline yet. It's not 24 hours, but we do have advocates on call and on just regular phone lines to talk with people if they would like that. We do advocacy, so we accompany them to like the courts, we accompany them to the hospital, we go, you know, if they're working around legal issues and things like that, we can go with them to their lawyers and talk about some of the issues of partner abuse, because really a lot of the time people don't understand that it happens as well within the LGBTQ community. And so we do that. We also do a lot of social change work. So we work with other mainstream organizations, particularly like women's shelters and sexual assault shelters and things like that, to kind of make sure that they're able to better serve LGBTQ survivors, and that they're prepared and feel comfortable doing that so that survivors will get the best services possible. And we do a lot of educational trainings, so not only for those same organizations, but also for other organizations within the queer community, to kind of let people know that this actually does happen within our community, and other sorts of like just general outreach things. Like sometimes we do general community clinics and different workshops and things like that around different ways of healing and different issues that survivors may face, and kind of do things like that. So as program coordinator, my main duty is as the primary advocate. So I'm usually the one that's answering the phone lines, but I also do a lot of trainings. I also do, it's kind of like the jack of all trades sort of position, so I do a little bit of everything. I think my position description actually has like, you know, 17
other duties
different things.
as described.
Right, exactly. Anything else that might possibly happen, like gopher, coffee maker, all the rest of that. So, and we're a small organization too. It's,
how big?
well, it's me, the program coordinator, and I'm full-time. And then Kara is our executive director, and she's full-time. And then Clark has had a 2-year part-time position as our youth program coordinator, which unfortunately is ending like now, in the beginning of April. And we always knew that was a 2-year grant, but due to the grant cycle, so unfortunately he's come through, but he's done a lot of really good work on developing curricula for talking about violence in the LGBTQ community in our school system. So that's where his primary work has come around. And then we have Connie, who's full-time, but she's an AmeriCorps Vista. So she's not technically employed through SafeSpace, but she works a lot on our development, planning, and volunteer recruitment, and things like that.
So how prevalent is violence in the LGBTQ community?
Well, it depends on what kind of violence you're talking about. I think that usually the numbers that we give are that 1 in 4 of every relationship experiences abuse and violence of some sort. And that's all relationships, heterosexual, LGBTQ, all of them. And that's kind of just a blanket number. Some of the numbers are more prevalent, some of them are less. But because all the things that we deal with are really underreported, I mean, all crime is underreported. And particularly violent crimes of the sorts that we deal with are extremely underreported. So, you know, sometimes it says as much as 1 in 3, sometimes it says more like 1 in, 5. But that's right around where we usually see that happening. Sexual violence is another one where it's kind of like, it's so open that it's really hard to pin down numbers. They usually say that 1 in 3 of all women will experience sexual assault or be sexually assaulted at some point in their lives, and 1 in 6 men, usually as boys, but also full-grown adult men, experience sexual assault. Hate crimes, SafeSpace takes a really broad view of hate crimes. we really look at the fact that we talked a little bit about people running down the street and like yelling out of windows. We look at that as something that kind of creates an atmosphere of hate and intolerance and bias that enables other people, or maybe even the same people, to continue perpetrating violence. So we do incident documentation as well for things like, you know, someone yelling out of a window, even though that's not usually prosecutable at all, because we consider that a hate crime of some sort. So if you look at it that broadly, I mean, I'd say probably any person in the world has experienced hate violence at some point. Of the more, you know, of the more violent type, at least like physically violent type, you know, the numbers are also, it's really vague. It's hard to kind of pin down. I know that we, off the top of my head, we documented last year 125 incidents of hate violence, but
in Vermont? Or?
In Vermont. We do have services statewide, but we're young, and so our reach is kind of growing. Like, a lot of our work has been Chittenden County centric, but last year we worked with survivors in, I think, 11 of the 14 counties. So we definitely have some sort of spread. But a lot of the places that we don't reach are the most rural places, where probably LGBTQ people that are there are the most isolated.
Right.
So basically, I'm trying to think, 125 incidents of hate violence. And the Attorney General's office, the Civil Rights Unit, I think documented like 14. So, I mean, there's a big difference there, and there's obviously people that we're not reaching, and, you know, you can kind of come from there with your own ideas of how much is really going on.
Right.